What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 4, Episode 10. So let's get into it. I want to talk about Marlo. Her sister Crystal comes over, and the first thing that Marlo does when her sister comes over is she shows her the boys' room, and basically like what a disaster area it is. They have clothes, piles and piles of clothes just everywhere. There's a hole in the wall where one of them have punched a hole through the wall. So for the most part, to me, this was like a typical teenage boy's room. I don't know why she felt the need to show her sister this room. I feel like Marlo is constantly trying to prove to other people that she was justified in kicking out her nephews. So when she was showing Crystal this room, it was as if she was trying to let her sister know, look at their room and what a disaster it is. I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't take it. Look how horrible this room is. Kind of like to justify why she kicked them out. Little does Marlo know, this is practically a typical teenage boy's room, except for the hole in the wall, which we understand that one of the boys probably did that just out of frustration. And they're going through a whole hell of a lot with their mom and everything. So that probably just happened, spur of the moment. The child was probably feeling frustrated, emotional, sad, angry, or whatever about the situation that they're in. So it's sort of understandable. But the clothes everywhere, the messiness of it all, that's a typical teenage room. So, like I said before, I feel like she just wanted to prove to her sister, this is the reason why I sent them to you, because I can't handle all of this. But this is just everyday living with teenage boys. So, Marlo says, I was trying to be very strict with them, but they were still misbehaving. And her sister says, you were strict with them when it came to their school and their education, but you weren't really that strict to them when it came to like being on them about their chores and about discipline and stuff like that. Marlo says that Crystal is the better guardian because she's already a parent because she has four small children. And so if that was the case, Marlo, if she was going to be the better guardian, then why weren't they placed with her before? There's a reason why they weren't placed with her before, because she probably had her hands full with her own four children. So the fact that she says, well, you were the better guardian anyway, it was kind of like she's trying to say, I don't know, you might as well keep them. They're better off with you than they are with me. I don't know. But Marlo, you bit off way more than you could chew with these boys. And someone should have told Marlo that, look, you took these kids on. These kids are going through a lot. And they're really good kids from what we could see. From what we could see of them, these kids are really good kids. And I think that Marlo should have just stuck it through. She should have gotten the help that she needed, put them in counseling, got as much help as she possibly could, but she should have kept them in her home. I think that they would have turned out great, but it is what it is. So Marlo asks her sister if she was wrong for needing a break from them. And the sister kind of paused because, the sister didn't agree at all with Marlo taking this break. But the sister was like, well, no, you weren't really wrong for needing a break, but there are certain things that you should never had said to them. So we found out that Marlo has told her nephews that she was tired of them. She had told her nephews that she didn't have to take care of them. I guess letting them know that she was sort of like doing them a favor by taking care of them, which is something you should never tell kids, because it just reinforces, their thoughts that nobody really wants them, that we're only here because she's doing us a favor. She really doesn't want us here. And then she ends up kicking them out of her home, which probably just solidified to them, Aunt Marlo really doesn't care for us at all, which is really, really sad. So a break for normal parents is like, maybe you have a date night with your partner, dinner and a movie. That's what we consider a break from our kids, not, sending them somewhere for an entire month. But whatever, like I said, it's already been done. What can you do about it now? So as far as, her mouth and the things that she said to her nephew and the things that she says to everybody else, Marlo says that, she got her, her nasty mouth from her mom. Her mom was always verbally abusing them, calling them ugly, saying really horrible things to her own children. And that's where she got, that way of talking from. And Marlo says that she is trying to work on it and she is trying to get better. So now is the day of the trip to Blue Ridge Mountain. So Marlo sends a luxury car to go pick up Candy, Manetta, and Drew. And I don't know I think it was a Mercedes-Benz Ghost or something. I have no idea. And so, which is fine to do the luxury car thing. You want to flex and all of that, but It's a 2 hour trip, it's a 2 hour drive, and I don't want to be sitting in a regular sedan for 2 whole hours. I think she should have just gotten a splinter van, like the way the housewives normally travel. Just get a splinter van, get a couple of splinter vans, make it really, really comfortable for everybody. Plus, we found out that Sheree had broken her toe when she was probably trying to try on a shoe that was way too small for her foot. She ends up breaking her pinky toe, so she has a boot on her foot, and her and Marlo are riding in a Rolls Royce or something. And even though for a sedan they may be spacious, but for a 2 hour trip and then Sheree with her broken foot, I think she should have gone with a splinter van for everyone to be stretched out, comfortable, bathrooms, all of that. But whatever, she wants to flex, and so they're gonna have to be uncomfortable for 2 hours. So they get to the what was it, like a mansion or something. They get to the place in Blue Ridge. She has them play some type of game to get rooms, whatever it was. So they get their rooms, whatever. The only people that are not there are Sonia, who is currently in Miami on a business trip with iFit, and Kenya, who chose not to come at all. So she said. So those are only two people that are missing. Now, on their way to dinner in the car, Marlo talks about how she had to she had to kick her nephews out. She couldn't take it. She needed a break, etc. And so the women tell her, okay, so you sent them to go live with your sister, but your sister has 4 children of her own, and plus she only has 2 bedrooms. Like, how does that make any sense? And the girls also tell Marlo that 30 days was probably a little bit too long. So nobody really agrees with Marlo kicking out her nephews, and it's kind of like, she's constantly trying to prove to everybody that she needed to do this. So they're at dinner. Everything's going fine. They're having a good time. Then all of a sudden, Kenya pops up. And Kenya had said that she wasn't going to show up. Now, I like Kenya for the most part. I like all of these women. But for Kenya to say she wasn't coming and then to pop up like this, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you say you're not coming and then you show up? Like, the whole thing of trying to make an entrance, trying to steal all the attention, it was just, to me, it was just really played and tacky. So after Kenya pops up, Sonia arrives. And then she tells them that she tells them about what happened in Miami with her meeting with iFit, and that iFit is going to be sponsoring a trip for her, all of her friends, and their spouses to Jamaica. So we have a Jamaica trip coming up. So then they start talking about where Kenya will stay. Kenya says that she's going to stay in her own, she got like an Airbnb or whatever. All the women want her to stay with them in the accommodations that Marlo has provided. And Marlo tells her, if you're not going to stay with us, you're not going to participate in any of the activities that I have planned for the women. And Kenya was like, you know what, I'm not going to stay with y'all, and I will still be participating. And Marlo was like, no, it's not going to work like that. This is Marlo's trip, Kenya. This is Marlo's trip. If you don't like how she's doing things on the trip that she's planned, then go home. You were going to stay home anyway, Kenya. Why do you want to show up and disrupt? Like, that's why you stay hated. And I like Kenya, but this is the reason why she stays hated by many. It's because she does stunts like this. You say you weren't going to come. You don't like Marlo. You and Marlo are beefing, but then you pop up out of nowhere. You show up, and then you tell Marlo, who is the person who planned the trip, you tell her how the trip is going to go. Why? So then Kenya and Marlo have a face-off, okay? They have a face-off, and it was a very calm and respectable face-off, but yeah, they kind of had no resolution. So Kenya starts off by telling Marlo that for years and years, Marlo has been accusing her of lying. And that is something that Kenya cannot stand, because she says, I am not a liar. You can call me anything you want, but I am not a liar. So every time that Marlo has accused Kenya of lying, Kenya has forgiven her. Like, Marlo has said that Kenya lied about her baby, that Kenya lied about this, Kenya lied about that, all this stuff. Kenya has time and time again forgiven Marlo. But The last straw was when Marlo had accused Kenya of lying about being sick, and that was the reason why she could not attend the event that Marlo had planned for Sheree after Tyrone had stood Sheree up. So Kenya was like, that is the last straw because I really was sick. You didn't believe me, and so I can't keep on forgiving you. So that's where it all ends with us. And so then Marlo in turn says, Kenya, you're a very intelligent, sophisticated, educated woman. You talk about how I was a prostitute. I came from the streets. I came from the gutter. And if anything, I look up to you. I admire you. And you should lead by example. And as much as Kenya likes to talk about how her and Marlo are different, Marlo said that, you know what, you and I, we have a lot more in common than you think. They both have issues with their families, etc., etc. So it was a very respectable, civil, argument. I was surprised that they were able to contain themselves, but the dinner was ruined. The dinner was completely ruined. They were no longer having fun. And I blame it all on Kenya. Kenya, if you're going to show up like this, if you're going to be flip-flopping about whether you want to be there, whether you don't want to be there, then when you do show up, go with the flow. Go with whatever the plans are, like everybody else. Why are you above and beyond everybody else? Everyone else is following the itinerary. Everyone else is doing what Marlo wants them to do. Why should you be any different? Especially since you don't even like Marlo. Marlo doesn't even like you. So I was really disappointed in Kenya. It's like, girl, go home. Just take your daughter. Go back to Atlanta. You were invited, but you didn't want to come. You don't want to play by the rules. Then just go back, go home, do whatever you want in Atlanta. So Marlo stood by her decision. She says, you know what? If you're not going to stay with the rest of us, you will not be included or invited in any of the activities that I have planned. And I totally agree with Marlo. In this particular episode, in this particular scene between Marlo and Kenya, I have to side with Marlo. Marlo kept it cute. She kept it professional. She didn't get, and Marlo can easily go out of pocket real easily. She can cut deep real quick, but she didn't. She kept it very, very civil. She expressed herself, said what she had to say, and she stood her damn ground about, if you're not going to stay in the house with us, you're not going to participate in any of these activities, so you might as well turn around and go back home. That is my review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, please subscribe, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.